All right, everyone, I have another video here featuring the Galaxy Z Fold 6. So this video is going to be a comparison of how content looks on a regular slab smartphone versus the Z Fold 6 in both the closed orientation and, of course, the open orientation right here. So we're going to be showing off kind of how stuff looks on both of them. So yeah, this is the Z Fold 6 over here. And this right here is the good old Note 10 Plus. Now, this is obviously a phone that is, 4 pushing 5 years old, but the size and shape of flagship super top-end smartphones hasn't really changed in these past 5 years. So I think this is going to be a valid comparison. We're just kind of looking at the actual area and size of the images that are going to be shown depending on what kind of content that you are consuming. I do have some numbers. I used math to figure out exactly how much bigger one screen or one image is than the other. And so there they are ahead on the screen. So the Note 10 goes 1440p this way and apparently 3040 pixels this way, which gives us a screen ratio of, I think it's 19.5 to 9, or if we just turn that into a number, that'd be around 2.111 for a screen ratio. Pixel density, pixels per inch of 498, so it's a very high density display, and using that ratio and reverse engineering the height and the width, we get around 6.1 inches this way and around 2.9 inches that way. Okay, yeah, I figured out these like screen size inch values through using the PPI instead of just taking whatever numbers that they gave me, because I don't know, I have trust issues. Anyways, the cover screen of the Z Fold 6, the pixel width over here is 968. Kind of disappointing that it's not even a full 1080p, but whatever. And then vertically over here we have 2376 pixels apparently, which gives us a screen ratio of 2.45, which is very tall. As you can see, it is noticeably narrower than the Note 10 Plus. So heights, it's slightly shorter at 5.8 inches this way, and like 2.36 inches going across. So it's a little bit shorter, a little bit narrower. But of course, what you buy the Fold for is for when you open it up, what does it look like? Oh, sorry. Maybe I should turn off the rotation. But what does it look like? So we got 1,856 pixels going this way. And then we also got 2,160 pixels going this way with a pixel density of 374. So one thing to note is that the pixel density of the Note 10 Plus or the slab smartphones is going to be a little higher than the pixel density over here. For the most part, they're high enough that you don't really have to worry about it anyways, but just a thing to keep in mind. Okay, I'm using the PPI and reverse engineering the heights and the width. So we get 5.77 inches going this way and then 4.96 inches going this way. So as you can see, it is significantly larger like that. All right. So like I said, I used some math to figure out exactly how big the images are going to be through different types of contents. We're going to be going over YouTube videos. We're going to be going over maybe browsing the web, maybe some Reddits, potentially, I don't know, Twitter scrolling or something like that. And then I'm also going to be covering the Twitch app, since that's something that I use occasionally. And then also we'll also talk about some gaming, and we're going to see how stuff looks like, how games look like on here. There is a specific thing that I want to touch on when we're talking about gaming on the Z Fold 6. And one reason that I would highly recommend to use the reduced screen ratios on the Z Fold 6. You actually, when you're gaming, you actually do not want to use up the whole screen, and I will explain why later. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the first thing. All right, so the first thing we're going to look at is your regular standard 16:9 content here on YouTube, right? So this is what most videos are shot in these days. We have, a 16:9 aspect ratio over here. You can see exactly how big each image is. So I have a chart over here. So the way you look at it is you look at the content ratio right there. It says, oh, 9:16 or 16:9, whatever. You input the limiting dimension. So in this case, right, the horizontal axis is limiting how big the image could be. So we take that image, we multiply it by the ratio, and we kind of scale it down to here. And then that tells us the area of this image for each one of them, and then we can compare the area. We can also compare the individual dimensions. And I also added another extra little fun, what's the word, statistic that says the percentage of the screen that is not content. So for example, if we're looking at the Note 10 Plus over here, right, we're looking at a 16:9 ratio. The limiting dimension is the horizontal dimension right over here. And so the other dimension gets scaled down, multiplied by 9/16, and then we get this one over here. So this should be 1.6, about 1.6 inches going this way. And if we look at the other numbers, the area, square inches area of this is going to be 4.7 square inches. And then the percentage that is not content, so the percentage down here is going to be around 73% of the screen is not the video content over here, right? So over here, if we look at the Z Fold 6, we have a similar story, right? The limiting dimension is going to be the horizontal again, 2.36 inches. The vertical dimension is going to be scaled down to 1.3 or 1.33 inches. And if we look at the R squared, if we look at the area amount, that comes out to 3.13 or 3.14 inches squared. And if we compare the R squared, the area values, you'll see that this image has only around 2/3 of the area of this image. So you can see it is quite a bit smaller, right? And if we're looking at the percentage that is not content, so the rest of this screen over here, we have around 77% of the screen is not contents. When we're looking at 16:9 on the front cover of the Fold 6. We'll probably go through the other types of media a little quicker. I'm just using this time to explain kind of like the methodology and the numbers that are on the screen right now. Okay, so there we go. So this is looking at 16:9 content in the portrait mode. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the Fold 6. Let's make sure it's in portrait mode like this. And as you can see, when we're in portrait mode, at least if we're comparing this image to this image, this is way bigger. According to the numbers, it is almost 3 times the area. Our R squared is 2.94. So almost 3 times the area of this compared to this, right? However, one thing I want noted, if you're looking at the comments right over here, this does do a little thing where this crops in, so that's kind of annoying and you might not want to do that. So you might want to look at this video in landscape mode like this. I think this is a fair comparison. As you can see, the image is still significantly bigger than the one on the Note 10 Plus. It is around 2.5 times the area of the one on the Note 10 Plus, but it is smaller than if you're looking at the same video in portrait mode. But of course, you can see the comments over here on the right just fine, and nothing is getting cropped over here. Yeah, aside from that, around 72% of the screen this way, here and here, is not content. Okay, all right, so let's move on. Let's go ahead and say, all right, well, what if we want to look at the video in landscape mode? So I'm going to go ahead and turn this to the side, and the Note 10 is going to look like this, right? I'm going to close this up. And we're going to continue. I saw the NBA stuff there. I was wondering if I was looking at the right video. And we're going to continue with the comparison, right? So as you can see on the cover screen, it is, again, significantly, well, not significantly, but a little bit smaller than on the Note 10 Plus. According to my numbers, no, it's still about the same. So it's still about 2/3 the size of the area compared to here. But in terms of dimensions, it is about 82% of the dimensions over here. And so this is what 16:9 content looks like here with this in landscape mode. And I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and we're going to go into full screen landscape mode like this. And as you can see, let me try and like overlay it a little bit. As you can see, on the Z Fold, the image is a little bit bigger, not a huge amount bigger. Let's see, what do the numbers say? It is the R squared is 1.26%. So the area is only about 26% bigger on the open Z Fold compared to a regular Note 10 Plus, right? So that means in terms of dimensions, this dimension, I guess the vertical dimension is the limiting dimension. So this dimension over here is only about 12% larger than this dimension right over here. All right. Maybe I should have zoomed out a little bit. Okay, there we go. Right, so there you go. It is a little bit bigger, but not by much. Okay, so moving on, we went over 16:9 content. Now we're going to go ahead and look at some 4:3 content. So 4:3 content is mostly going to be like old anime is shot in 4:3, or I guess animated in 4:3. I believe also a lot of pictures are also going to be 4:3. This honestly looks pretty square. This might actually be more than 4:3. Actually, I don't know, whatever, right? If we're looking at a more square kind of picture, how does it look, right? So we have the exact same ratio if we're talking about the front screen of the fold, right? In both cases, the limiting dimension is going to be the one going across right over here. So this picture is about 2/3 the area of this picture over here. Let's see what else is there to say. Otherwise, 64% not picture, 69% not picture, whatever, not a big deal. However, if we open this into portrait mode, ho boy. Dang it, stop rotating. Oh boy, as you can see, that is a whole lot bigger when we're looking at the when we open up the Z Fold 6, and as you can see, that is 3 times the area over here in portrait mode, right? It is way bigger, way bigger, which is very cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn this into landscape mode and take a look at how it looks over here. So let me close this up. So comparing the 2 phones in landscape mode, yeah, it's not looking super great for the Z Fold 6, right? It is the front screen is very small. It's not very particularly good at consuming media, but that's what you open it up for, right? So in landscape, again, same exact thing, around 2/3 the size of this one over here. So not really too much more to say about this. That's fine. But when we open it up and we put this in landscape mode and we full screen it like that, again, this screen is absolutely gigantic compared to what we see on the Note 10, right? So one thing to note is that the closer your content matches your aspect ratio, the better and the more of the screen is going to fill up, right? So in 4:3 content, the more square aspect ratio of the Z Fold 6 is going to fill up a whole lot more of the screen than on a Note 10 or like a standard kind of flagship phone these days, right? So let's see this, according to the numbers, this is 2.24 times bigger than this one, a 25 inches squared area for this picture. Dang, that is pretty big. All right, now the next thing that we're going to talk about is going to be 2:1 content. So as you can see over here, this is a 16:9 screen, but if you look really closely, there are black bars here and here at the top and the bottom. So that means the aspect ratio is a little bit wider than the kind of 16:9 that most stuff is shot in these days. A lot of tech YouTubers have been using this 2:1 aspect ratio. I know Linus Tech Tips, Mark MKBHD, I believe, and I also think Dawid does tech stuff. That's a funny little channel there. But a lot of tech channels have been shooting their content in 2:1 to kind of make it look better on phones, which we will see in a moment. All right. So yeah, since the limiting aspect ratios are exactly the same, this picture is only 2/3 the area of this picture over here. And if we open it up, and remember what I said about how the closer your aspect ratio is to your content, the better it's going to look. Oh, come on, focus. Yellow. Anyways, come on. Okay, there we go. Anyways, so if we open it in portrait and we're looking at it like this, what do we got? So this is around 3 times larger than this one. Kind of the ratios are about the same down the line. Okay, so this is all in portrait mode. Let's go ahead and turn things sideways. And we're going to turn the Note 10 Plus sideways, and I'll give you a moment to see why exactly most tech channels are shooting their content in 2:1 right there. As you can see, it fills up almost the entirety of the screen with just teensy little bars at the side there. This still looks really nice. Okay, let me go ahead and put our Z Fold 6 in close like that. So it's the ratio, screen ratio of the Z Fold 6 is like 2.45, which is really tall. It's way taller than that. So as you can see, the black bars on the side is significantly larger. Sorry, I bumped the table. The black bars on the side here on the closed Z Fold 6 is significantly larger than the black bars over here on the Note 10 Plus. And yeah, since this is, again, it's a mismatching of aspect ratios, when you open up the Z Fold 6 and you put it in landscape mode, the image between the two is almost exactly the same size. If we look at my numbers, what do the numbers say? The numbers say that the Fold 6 actually has a slightly, marginally, like 1% smaller size if we're comparing these two right here. As you can see, like if you try and look at the heights, they are basically identical, right? These two are basically identical. So again, right, the more square the content is that you're trying to consume on the Z Fold 6, the better it's going to look, because then it's going to be able to fill out, it's going to match the aspect ratio of the screen. It's going to be able to fill up more of the screen, right? As you can see, there's a whole lot of screen at the top and the bottom here that is not being filled in. And if I look at my numbers, landscape, it says 40% of the screen. 40% of the screen is just wasted on the top and the bottom. It doesn't work, right? And this gets even worse when we're talking about movie content, which is shot in 2.39 by 1. And I'll go over that right now. All right, and here we are with movie content. As you can see, it's shot in a very, very kind of wide aspect ratio as well. Again, same deal, around 2/3 the size of the content over here. So it's going to be the same ratios in portraits, not super very interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and turn both of these phones sideways into landscape. And you can see a lot of content, a lot of this like kind of movie content is like fake movie content where it's 22.39 by 1 over here, but it's uploaded as a 16:9 video. So you have these black bars at the top and the bottom, which is really annoying, but you can zoom in like this. And if you look on the Note 10 Plus, right, there's still a tiny little bit of black bars at the top and the bottom, which is fine because then nothing is being cropped out. However, if you do this on the Z Fold 6, you can zoom to fill like this, and that looks really good. However, since the aspect ratio here is a teensy little bit wider than the actual content, it's kind of hard to see, but there are a few pixels at the very top and the bottom that are being shaved off right there, right? So there we go. It looks like that. I'm going to go ahead and open this up into landscape mode. And if we look at these two side by side, oh yeah, if you try zooming in here and zooming to fill, you're cutting off all of the movie on the side over here, so you can't really do that. So we're going to zoom out like this, and if we look at the size of the image, they are basically identical. Actually, I think the Note 10 Pluses might be bigger. What do my notes say? My notes say that in landscape mode for the movie, yes, the image size over here is about the same whether the Z Fold 6 is opened or closed, which is about 10% less, or around 15 to 10% smaller than on the Note 10 Plus. Okay, let me go and pause that. So yeah, in terms of watching actual like 2.39 by 1 content, the Z Fold 6 is not great. I mean, I guess you could maybe like do that, put it in flex mode and maybe watch it like that, maybe. I don't know. That might be a thing that you can do. Put a second app on the bottom. So maybe you have that bonus there, but in terms of just watching, watching straight up modern movies, not so great. All right, now that we're coming off of movies where the Z Fold 6 did not look super great, let's kind of change gears and look at something, again, where the Z Fold 6 does do super well. So this is a picture that I took. We got a little desk mat section. I really like this desk mat, in case you haven't figured that out. And also my keyboard over there, my mouse and all that, right? As you can see, since most pictures are taken in 4:3, so 4:3, as you can see, the aspect ratio on here matches much more closely to the fold screen walls. Over here, not so much, right? We got huge black bars at the top and bottom, whereas over here, it's mostly all good, right? Let's see, according to my numbers, around 13% of the screen is not whatever picture you're looking at over here. So these little bars on the side. And then over here, whatever is not on the screen is around 36%. There's like 36% of the screen is wasted over here, while it's 12% of the screen is wasted over here, right? So if we go over here, right? And one thing to note is that because 4:3 is pretty square, even if you're not matching your aspect ratio, you're still filling up a whole lot of the screen, right? So if I go ahead and turn, right, if on a slab phone like this, you're gonna have to turn the screen to get it to match up better like this, right? Whereas over here, it's kind of a whole lot of space is black, right? But here, even if you don't turn it, the image is still pretty big. Right? And let me just look at the notes. What do the notes say about the size differential? Yeah, this is like 3 times a larger image than this one, right? So if you're looking at a lot of movies, if you're sorry, not a lot of movies, if you're looking at a lot of pictures and more square contents, Z Fold 6 blows a slab phone way out of the water. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and move on, and we're gonna read some manga next. Ooh. All right, so moving on to manga content. Manga content is in about a 3:2 aspect ratio. This picture right here, this is One Piece, a colored version. This picture is a wee touch kind of taller than a 3:2 aspect ratio, so it's slightly biased towards the slab phones, although I'm pretty sure, depending on what you're looking at, it might have a slightly marginally different aspect ratio for each image. Anyways, as we're saying, so when it is open like this, the Z Fold 6 has around a 77% larger area. So as you can see, you can kind of maybe take a look at that for yourself, right? Moving on to the next picture right here. Right? And then also, particularly, one thing that I note that is going to look way better on the Z Fold 6 is if you have a kind of spread like this, right? If you have a spread like this, it's going to look significantly better on the Z Fold 6. We're going to see how much, ooh, look at that. It's filling up the entire page. Whereas if you do it like this, right? These 2-page spreads are going to look way better on the Z Fold 6. I think one thing that we can all agree that the Z Fold 6 is going to be better at is going to be reading manga. No matter how you slice it, get it, Zoro. No matter how you slice it, this is going to give you a bigger image than for reading manga than this one over here, right? So as you can see, ooh, nice and big. All right, so we talked about how a lot of content looks on the comparing it between the two phones, right? Your standard phone. We looked at YouTube content of all sort of aspect ratios. We also looked at how photos look, how manga looks, right? And now let's talk about, I don't know, Twitch stream. So obviously a part of Twitch streaming is being able to interact with the chat like this. One thing I want to bring up and note is that on the Z Fold 6, even though you have a nice big image of the Twitch stream up here, yeah, when you start typing, it gets kind of cramped and you can't see the rest of the chat, which is not the greatest. And also when you put it sideways like this, it becomes very difficult to actually press the button to enter chat, even though the picture is nice and big. Let me see if I can do this. Yeah, on a standard phone, the chat window is a little bit wider. I don't know why it's like that, but of course, one thing that you can do is you can force the Twitch app into a more standard-ish ratio, screen ratio by taking a second app and then going ahead and doing something like this, and then now you can type in here, no problem, bing, bing, boom, or you could stretch it out and maybe do something like this. Oh wait, that doesn't really fix the problem. Anyways, right, so even though it might not look the greatest right out of the gates, there is a lot of versatility that you can do with the Z Fold 6, which is pretty cool. You know, lots of workarounds that you can do. All right, okay, so let's go ahead and browse some Reddit, maybe browse some Twitter. We'll see how those look. From here on out, I'm going to kind of ignore the front screen because for the most part, what's left is just going to be, oh, it looks like this, but a little bit smaller. So I don't think there's too much point in going out. So we're just going to be comparing the main screens from here on out. All right, let's go ahead and browse some Reddit. So this is the official Reddit app, which sucks, by the way, but you know, it's easily accessible. So we'll kind of use this as a, what does it looks like to kind of browse the web, right? So as you can see right over here, if we're scrolled all the way up to the top, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 3.5 posts over here. Whereas over here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 posts then we can see, right, there's the one piece button, one right over there, and then I guess an add. So we're not gonna pretend that we're gonna not worry about that, right? But as you can see, there is significantly more content on that you can see on this one compared to this one. Let's go ahead, open up this post right over here and kind of take a look at that. So obviously the content itself that we're looking at in here is kind of much more matched to that, whereas, you know, I guess it's the image here is still bigger, but you have to open it up in order to look at it properly. Anyway, so if we go ahead, scroll down to the comments, one thing that happens with the Reddit app is that it kind of like pushes in really far when you go down the comment chain. But over here on the Z Fold 6, you have plenty of space. You have plenty of space so that even if you're going several comments deep, you still have plenty of space to read the comments over here, whereas over here it gets a little bit cramped. Where's your homework? My Olympic gold medal ate it. Okay, anyways, right, so that's kind of like a test of how Reddit looks like. You can also look at other stuff. Let's go ahead and take a look at Twitter now. All right, so let's go ahead and make some poor life decisions and go ahead and browse Twitter for a bit. So this is what posts look like. Same text size, looking like that. So let's go ahead and look at this one. Right, again, it's kind of just like a slightly different experience, you know. It's bigger over here, right? Especially if some images that are more squared off like this. The image here is way bigger than the image over here, right? But for the most part, since stuff like images are so much more stretched out, take up so much more space on here, the number of things that you can see are actually pretty similar, right? Like here, because this image is blown up so big, you can't even see the text at the top up here, whereas you can see the whole post over here. But yeah. All right, so here you go. There's a little comparison of what stuff looks like on Twitter. There you go. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the very last thing on our itinerary, and that is to compare the two phones when it comes to gaming. So again, this phone is 4 or 5 years older than this one, so we're not going to be winning any performance metrics or anything with here. So, you know, the settings are a bit lower. But one thing that I want to point out, and I want to make sure that people are aware of, is the difference in aspect ratio. So hopefully you guys can notice a little bit of a problem when we're looking at the fold screen versus the note screen, and that is that we are missing a whole lot of stuff on the sides of the screen right over there, right? So over here, this is, by the way, this is Genshin Impact. This is the city of Fontaine. I just teleported in, so these two should be at the exact same location, so it is a direct one-to-one comparison. If you look, there are two NPCs over here on the side that are completely not visible on the Z Fold 6, and this is already at the most zoomed out position over here. If you look over here, this can zoom out a little bit more, but I'm just gonna zoom back in. But so this is all the way zoomed out. You can't see the guys on the side. This is a little bit zoomed in. You can see the guys on the side, and and you can see this building over here. Whereas again, completely not even visible on the Z Fold 6, right? So because the Z Fold 6 is much more square aspect ratio, you're actually losing a whole lot of information on the sides. Vertically, you have the same amount of information, right? So that looks cool, and it's really cool to have like this square of pure, you know, full game. That's really cool, but this aspect ratio makes it very difficult to recommend actually playing a game on full screen. So if you have enemies like zipping around or moving behind you or anything, it's very, very difficult to keep track of them with such a square aspect ratio. Whereas here you have the peripheral vision to keep you know, an eye and keep track of them. So I would recommend you go into your settings, go to the full screen apps, and change this to at least the 4:3 setting. I think 4:3 is a decent balance between using up the whole screen and having a little bit more peripheral vision that makes life a little bit easier. I think it's a nice balance. And another minor thing that I would recommend you doing not full screen on is the weighting. Oh, so if you notice, all the buttons here are stuck at the very bottom. It's kind of difficult to like hold the weighting's kind of weird. So if you're holding it there's a lot of the weight of the phone like pulling down this way, so it becomes kind of difficult to hold it. If the controls are moved up a little bit, then you can hold the phone more center, and it's easier to hold. Anyways, yeah, I'm gonna do a little, probably gonna do a little animation to, so you can see just how much of the screen you can see at each resolution, and you can kind of make your choice whether you want to reduce this down to 4:3 or the 16:9. And yeah, I think that's going to be about it. So I know this was kind of a longer video, but hopefully you guys enjoyed the insights. Um, yeah, for anyone planning on considering buying a folding phone, it's definitely an interesting experience. I'm not going to say I dislike it. It's very cool to have a nice fat screen that you can fold up and put in your pocket. I think it's very, very, very chic, very schmeckshy maybe. But yeah, it is a lot of money. I might make a few more videos on this phone because I have ideas and I want to work on them. But hey, it is what it is. All right, see ya.